Just plug that in there, would ya?
It's done. I believe we are ready.
Yeah, as ready as we're gonna be. Grab one of these can sets, both of ya. No idea what we're gonna hear when I turn this thing on, so be prepared for anything. Good. We're live in 2, 1. That's your cue, lawman.
You're all alone out there. The lieutenant looks up at you with a nervous glance. Nervous for who, though? You cannot say.
Give it another go.
Perhaps you're simply imagining it, but it seems as though you're learning to pull apart the fibers of this auditory felt.
Nein, Liebling, das lasse ich nicht zu. Marianne hat mir erzählt, dass Oscar nicht mehr...
You can't make out a word of this gibberish.
Liebling, bitte.
Keep trying. We'll get through these radio spookers eventually. Again.
It's cold now. I didn't say anything, Detective. Someone has been maintaining it. The wiring has been repaired.
An uncomfortable silence falls over the connection.
It's been a long winter. Long and cold. I promise you I didn't, even though it certainly sounds like me.
Sounds like your partner's being haunted by his past self.
It's just a little bit of pale interference, Detective.
Outwardly, the lieutenant exudes reassurance, but you...
Natürlich halten ihn die Psychologen für voll...
Is that what this switch does? I'll flip it now.
Someone has been maintaining it.
Sounds like the de-spooker worked. Lucky break. Now get...
Worship Archer. Are you there, Lieutenant Dubois? Please acknowledge.
Bad news. Even with the de-spooker flipped, the signal is still too weak to get down with. Don't know. If we can't get around the interference, we're in deep trouble. Says here, main step, volume to the max. Don't know. My guess, you climb up the centaur, man.
Someone has been maintaining it.
Something about this setup seems dimly familiar. Images of your body smashed against the pavement flood your mind. Your gloves give you a solid grip on the metal bar. This feels pleasingly familiar. You don't exactly cut a lithesome figure, but after several moments of scrambling, you manage to hoist yourself atop the monument. That performance was frankly an embarrassment. The connection itself is nothing more than a little braid of exposed wire. The whole monument is covered in a thin but durable layer of oil.
Well, what's it look like? Huh. I don't know what to do then. Hang on. I'm looking at Egg's checklist. Good question. Maybe it says here, muscle style. Since you're already up there, I say you should do it.
The speed freak is right. The responsibility is yours and yours alone. You are face to face with Philip III. His imperious gaze leads you naturally to his outstretched hand. You can't help but feel that saber you picked up might just give this older king a little more panache. Come on, kings and sabers are so played out. Why not arm the good king's valiant steed instead? To your surprise, the saber slides snugly between the horse's beard teeth.
There is no way that is going to make any difference.
Nah, every bit helps. We need this antenna to be as hardcore as humanly possible.
The sky is grey and overcast. Through the scrim, you can just make out the shadow of Coalition warship Archer a few kilometers to the east. Your grip is firm, yet controlled.
Looks like it's working.
Nein, Liebling.
The signal is clear. The storm has passed.
Try it now.
Lieutenant Dubois, this is Coalition Warship Archer. We are acknowledging and accepting it.
There it is. The big bad.
This is it. You're finally getting to speak with those who hold real power. And by that, we mean the ones with the guns. There is so much you wish you could ask.
Please be advised that you are speaking on a public frequency. What is your request? You are currently speaking with Coalition Warship Archer, flagship of Insurgent forces in Revachol. Our name is not important. All you need to know is that we hold the position of second signaler aboard the Archer.
Wait. She's an L something. You just know it. There's something in the way she refers to herself, always with the first person plural. Not to mention the airborne artillery platform she works on. Her every word is backed up by the most powerful ordnance available.
Really, it's not important. We would strongly prefer that you state the request. How did you know that? We don't appreciate whatever game you're playing, Lieutenant Dubois.
Is it possible to hear someone blush? Because you're sure that's what she's doing.
That's difficult to say. We have a very particular view from our observation platform up here. Perhaps the best way to describe it is to say we have a very wide perspective. Oh, it looks quite lovely from here. From our portal, we see rolling hillsides covered with snow, a public park filled with grand oak trees. There are children building a snowman by a small pond. We cannot say for certain. East it must be.
She needs to see you down here.
Martinez. That is to the west, yes? Stand by a moment. We are adjusting our viewfinder. Yes, we are looking at the river now. Interesting. The west of the city looks very different from the east. Very well. Now, we're looking at an area that seems to be in urgent need of revitalization. Now we see the lake, and around that, a rather vibrant-looking city quarter. There are some large buildings from the turn of the century, we would guess. So that is Martinez.
A distended pause. A slight chill of embarrassment.
Oh, well, we see the many, historic buildings, of course. There are also a number of seabirds looping and twisting in the wood below us. No horses, though. And of course, we can see some people, but they... perhaps? We do not generally reach for such evocative imagery, but there is something rather desperate about it. And then, there's all the tear lying about. It's very unpleasant to look at. A roundabout. Aha! Yes, we see the monument. But there seems to be a man on top of it. That's you. We have to say, that's extremely irregular, Lieutenant. It must be. Unfortunately, we don't have time to hear it just now. In any event, it is certainly interesting to see you, even from afar.
Liebling, bitte.
Signal's weakening.
Come again? We're picking up more interference. A very important question, with a very simple answer. We want humanity to endure. Beyond that, it may be said that we are the inheritors and stewards of Dolores Day's legacy. Immeasurable. It includes intersolar travel, 3 scientific revolutions, humanism, internationalism. The role of the Moralist International is twofold: to buy humanity sufficient time to perfect itself, and to patiently guide it along the road while protecting it from ideological highwaymen and eschatologists. It's an elegant idea, one of the cornerstones of the modern era. In short, it holds that durable, lasting peace is possible when the major powers are capable of inflicting unacceptable and irreversible destruction upon one another. Because no rational state is willing to accept the risk of such a calamity befalling its own people. A state is like any other living thing. It wants to survive and grow. The communists say they are the next dialectical step in an inexorable spiral of progress. They claim to have resolved the inherent contradictions of moralism. The fascists say they are both the ancestors of and the successors to Deloreanism. In other words, they believe that Dolores Day's reign simply represents a glorious phase of expansion within a greater Franco-Nigerian heritage. And then, there are our prodigal cousins, the Vazan Social Democrats, who hold our same values and have even adopted many of our same rites and iconography, though they persist in rejecting the umbrella of moralism.
For some reason, it's the Social Democrats she sounds most exasperated with.
Yes. Atomic war, environmental degradation, resource exhaustion, viral pandemic, supervolcanism, runaway anthropogenetic collapse. This is why it is critical for the international community to work toward peace and cooperation between nations. Let us answer your question with a question. Have you ever seen evening fall over the old town of Advesperascit? The heart of the city, the old town, is a district composed of weather marble, comprising thousands of columns and arcades arranged around a series of grand plazas. But as the sun sets, the shadows cast by those columns and arcades weave together to form an intricate ombre and lattice.
The name Advesperascit means evening comes.
By thousands of people over many centuries, in keeping with a precise plan each believed in, but never expected to see the final completion of. Not only that, but you are also part of that centuries-long plan. When you cross one of the open plazas, your own shadows is effortlessly woven into the great lattice work. Yes, it is. We grew up there. We have seen the lattice with our own eyes. In Messina, of course. Not only was it the site of Dolores Day's crowning, it was also one of the great cities of the Dolorian era. Of course, such a city does not spring from nowhere.
There's a word at the tip of your tongue. A name. Egret. Don't ask us what it means.
Yes, it does. It's the name of a bird, of course. But it's also the designation for the Archer's Coordinated Impact Artillery System. Yes, names tend to do that, don't they?
This is it. Final question time.
Is everything alright? We lost the connection for a moment. Acknowledge. To reach the committee, all you need to do is fill out the appropriate request form and submit it to the liaison for vote. If the liaison accepts your request, you will be invited to address the committee at their next quarterly public hearing. We believe the next hearing is scheduled for July.
This isn't about you. Not really. It may have been at a certain point, but you've let go of that perspective. Now, take a deep breath. Look upward. You don't have to bear the burden alone.
What? How do you know this?
There's a hesitation in her voice now. A little catch that wasn't there before.
Lieutenant Dubois, this is a very serious claim. Please describe the situation as succinctly as possible.
There's papers rustling in the background. There. You've wedged your foot in the door. Now, if you...
Please continue. We're listening. Was there anything else the committee should know?
Detective, before you answer that, I urge you to weigh your words extremely carefully.
We're afraid we must ask you to repeat that, Lieutenant Dubois.
Afraid? What is she afraid of? Her tone has shifted. She's no longer herself. She's reading from a script. Your words have activated some sort of procedure.
Never mind that. All you need to do is repeat what you just said. Acknowledge. Listen very carefully, Lieutenant. We're going to ask you a series of questions. Good. First question. Are you currently in the vicinity of Sir Egli? Please answer the question. Very good. Next question. Would you describe the phenomenon as internal to the Isola or external to the Isola?
What she means is, actually, you have no idea what those words could mean in this context.
Next question. At the time, did you experience sense objects? Yes. Examples may include sound, memory, light. Let's go on. Final question. Were you alone?
Yes, unquestionably, irrevocably alone. You are part of a large family. You are never alone. There's no need to overthink this.
We repeat. Were you alone?
You hear the sound of a page ripping.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Please stand by while we transmit our summary.
A long winter.
Signals are starting to misalign.
Lieutenant Dubois, this is Collision Warship Archer. Thank you for standing by. We are authorized to report the Committee of Responsibility for Ravachol has acknowledged and accepted your request. They would like you to address your matter to the committee directly, as their earliest convenience. Remain where you are. Collision Shuttle Laurel is setting a course for your position.
Snow again. It collects between the Bronze Horse's ears, along the bridge of the Bronze King's nose.
No way! Big Bad's coming here!
The lieutenant slowly removes his headphones and...
Well, what now? You've accomplished your side task. You've contacted Coalition Warship Archer. I suppose what I'm asking is whether we are about to lose you to the moralintern. Afraid of what, detective?
A little rhyme jingling in your mind's attic. Of the future, of the past, of all that is not made to last. The lieutenant takes a moment to compose his thoughts.
I don't know where this case will lead us, detective. But in a sense, that doesn't matter. Our job is to follow the evidence where it leads. Consequences be damned. Because that's what it means to be an officer of the RCM.
The lieutenant's final words are nearly swallowed by the roar of the aerostatic's main rotors.
Lieutenant Dubois, this is Collision Warship Archer. We have been instructed to inform you that the Laurel arrived at your position.
No shit. How are they supposed to hear your acknowledgement?
Thank you. The Committee of Responsibility for Ravachol has authorized us to offer you an immediate extraction. Do you accept?
The roundabout, Martinez North, daytime. The speed freak eyes you with a curious blend of awe and contempt. He's torn. There's nothing more softcore than the Coalition. The lieutenant looks up toward you. He starts to open his mouth, then appears to think better of it. He's spoken his piece, he thinks. There is something, a whisper, circulating among the city's footnoted alleyways.
Repeat that, Lieutenant. What do you mean, you can't? Are you being impeded in some way? We have to say, this is extremely disappointing to hear, Lieutenant. What the consequences will be for your refusal to accept responsibility, we cannot say. For your sake, we pray they are not more than we all can bear. And now, we are updating our frequencies. We will not speak again. This connection will be cleared in 4, 3, 2, 1. Après le monde, le gris.
And the line goes quiet. The lieutenant gives you a long sigh.
I think it's best for you to climb off the statue now, detective. You're
About time. You grab that amp. Forget the cables. Need to leave some evidence of our antenna to inspire future generations.
What's one more trip across the waterlock?